Excellencies, participants, colleagues and partners, greetings from Almaty. My name is Krista Pikkat and I'm the UNESCO representative in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and the director of the UNESCO office in Central Asia, based in Almaty. And I have the honor to moderate the first plenary session that is entitled, What does progress in transformative education look like? A look at practices at the country level. Let me start by acknowledging that since its inception, UNESCO has been promoting transformative power of education to make the world a better place to live through both individual and societal transformation. And UNESCO's work in this has been guided, among others, by the 1974 recommendation concerning education for international understanding, cooperation and peace, education relating to human rights and fundamental freedoms, and of course, since 2015, also by Sustainable Development Goal number 4, and in particular its target 4.7, which is also, of course, crucial to reaching all SDGs. UNESCO's member states have been promoting and putting into practice transformative education under different concepts in response to their respective needs and priorities. But we can already see that all countries highlight the role of education in building a set of knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes that allow learners to take informed decisions and actions in response to both local and global challenges of socioeconomic and environmental nature. As we get closest to the target date of the achievement of SDGs, there are increasing number of efforts that are made both at the global and country level to monitor progress towards transformative education, which, as I said, is reflecting in target 4.7. So this is against this background that we also hear increasing number of people and stakeholders demand to understand better what concrete progress at the country level in transformative education looks like and how it can best be captured. So this session of the plenary will look at the practices at the country level. It is organized as a panel discussion and it will have hopefully 4 countries, Botswana, Japan, Jordan and Germany, share their vision and practice and progress in transformative education. So we have invited representatives from ministries of education to share their experience in implementing transformative education across a range of topics such as education for sustainable development, global citizenship education, and education for health and well-being, while highlighting their approach and pathway to find synergies across a range of topics. So I'm very proud and happy to present to you our speakers. The first speaker, Mr. Shadreck Majwabe, who is the director of the Department of Curriculum Development and Evaluation from the Ministry of Basic Education of Botswana, seems to have some technical challenges to join us because of the internet connection, but I do hope that you will be with us. Our second speaker is Ms. Taka Horio, who is Assistant Secretary General of the Japanese National Commission for UNESCO and also the Associated Schools Program National Coordinator at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology of Japan. Our third speaker is Ms. Niveen Jouhar, member of Directorate of Curricula at the Ministry of Education of Jordan. And our fourth speaker is Dr. Thomas Greiner, head of the Subdivision on Lifelong Learning at the Federal Ministry of Education and Research in Germany. We shall start with 2 rounds of questions that I shall put to the speakers, and I will try to limit also and manage the time per question. So we have 3, 8 and 5 minutes respectively for our questions. And then we'll also pick a few questions from the audience before a final round of questions from me. So be very actively engaged and also comment your thoughts and ideas in light of our discussion, because we will be also engaging and reaching out to you at some point. You can write your comments and questions to the speakers in the chat box that will stay active throughout the session, and that will be monitored by my colleague, Ms. June Morohashi, who will also help me pick some questions that we will put on your behalf to the speakers. So I hope that this discussion will help us identify some key factors and success indicators that should be retained to take stock of and assess the progress at the country level. And let us then move straight to the first question, where our aim is actually to make sure that we understand the breadth of what we mean by transformative education. So we shall ask our speakers to put on paper some concepts that they associate with the words transformative education, and then we would invite them to comment on these words. I see that we have already the first words coming from Japan. So I'm very happy to ask Ms. Horio from Japan to actually speak to these concepts. Over to you.
Okay, Krista, thank you very much for introducing me. I put the keyword for the transformative education is change mindset and change actions. So we think the education promote a change of student or teacher's mindset, and accordingly to change their action is very key to transformative education. If students do not recognize the issues related to their lives or their education, school education, they don't think the solution seriously. However, if they understand the relations or how they connect to their lives, they are seriously think about the solutions and accordingly to their actions. For example, we have a Tadami Junior High School located in mountain area. Even though they learned ocean plastic as a global issues in their class, they think ocean plastic and garbage is based on the each problem in the ocean area, not their lives. So they don't think they can do something to these global issues. So teachers brought the students to the beach to pick up the garbage at the beach. And then the students found the garbage is not only the ocean side, but also comes from the rivers or the towns in the mountains. So they realized the connection between the ocean garbage and their daily lives. So they seriously think about the solutions to reduce the plastic bag, and they produce the paper bags and to reduce at the shops. And then those actions involved the communities. So that kind of the teachers brought the students to change their students' mindset, and then the students can think about the solutions to change their actions. So that is the things we thought and transformative education. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I then move on to Ms. Jouhar from Jordan? What are the words that you associate with transformative education? I see that we don't have the words yet. Ms. Jouhar, over to you.
Hi everyone, I am Niveen Jouhar from Jordan. How I understand the transformative education, all of countries in the world follow up the transformative education. In Jordan, we focus about transformative education. We put a policy keeping on development and modernization, quality, differentiation, efficient education, and focusing on lifelong learning, critical thinking, and digital skills. We also focus about develop students' personal, social, and professional skills, develop vocational and technical education.
Thank you. A whole new set of concepts coming forward. Thank you so much. Let me then look to Mr. Greiner from Germany. Over to you.
Thank you. To our opinion, education is always transformative for the individual. As you know, in Germany, we have the long Humboldtian Bildungstradition, where Bildung, education, is described as linking the student's self to the world in the most general, most animated, and most unrestrained interplay. The question remains if this self-transformation stays a self-referential process or if it is connected to transformation processes of society, which shall be achieved to reach sustainable development. And here, newer approaches of transformative learning come into play. As we see it, we have learned in the last 15 years in particular what education for sustainable development means. That is how education can advance a successful transformation of society towards sustainability, mainly with its toolbox of competences and methods to make the people more responsible for their acts. ESD turns the systemic challenges for sustainable development into key elements of teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we see that already the concept in itself is so complex and there are so many sides and aspects to that, starting from the what we actually want to achieve. So it's a change of mindset, change of action, and then also, you know, what kinds of aspects it encompasses when in the education system, and last but not least, how do we actually bring this individual change to the level of the society. Let us then zoom in on the country experiences. And I would invite, because I don't think that we have our speaker from Botswana with us, unfortunately. So I would turn immediately to the example of Japan. And we will be looking at the Japanese example in promoting transformative education through UNESCO's Associated Schools Network. Japan has more than 1,200 UNESCO associated schools, and the country is mobilizing the network to promote education for sustainable development at the school level. I believe that the ministry has conducted some interesting studies to see what has been changed in the school through this action. And this is why we would very much appreciate Ms. Horio's sharing with us some of these findings of the ministry. Over to you, Ms. Horio.
Okay, thank you. So I think that my slide can be shared. Okay, thank you. So as the Ministry of Education in Japan, since the very first stage of ESD, that transformation of school education system is a key to achieve the purpose of ESD. So as you can see from the chronological table on the left, we made several efforts to promote ESD together with UNESCO Associated School Network, which is positioned as a driver for promoting ESD in Japan. For example, the Japanese National Commission for UNESCO published proposals to recommendations to promote ESD together with ASP.NET schools, and in 2008, inter-university network we call UNIVNet that support ASP.NET has established. Now there are more than 1,200 ASP.NET schools in Japan and implemented their education introducing ESD concept. Another movement in Japan related to is national curriculum standards. After a series of discussions, the core idea of ESD, which is expressed as fostering builders of sustainable society, was incorporated into the new national curriculum standards for primary and lower secondary and upper secondary education. And also in the third basic plan for the promotion of education in 2018. In cooperation to these policies, every school education at all levels has now been conducted based on the philosophy of ESD nationwide. The figure on the right side shows us the points of ESD practice included in their new national curriculum standard. We are aiming for learner-concerned active learning through the curricula that are open to society. There are three pillars: cultivation of the motivation to learn and humanity, acquisition of the knowledge and skills, and developing ability to think critically. Next slide, please. To support ASP.NET in Japan, we have established the Secretariat and operate the official website to provide activities of ASP.NET schools to share good practices and useful materials, information on events, including National ASP.NET Conference. And also, we are conducting annual activity survey to ASP.NET schools to understand the current situation and status, challenges, and outcomes of schools, so that we could reflect the trends and challenges to its figures and future policies. And I think and I hope that those findings from the survey also give some motivations to teachers and school managers to further promote their activities as well as confidence to their activities. I would like to share some results comes from survey took place in fiscal year 2020. Next slide, please. This slide shows the situation of awareness at the schools. Figure 1 shows the awareness of ESD for 2030. Figure 2 shows the awareness of students' status on ESD in the new national educational guidelines. Figure 3 shows awareness of SDGs Goal 4, Target 4.7. And figure 4 shows the awareness of the relationship between ESD and SDGs 17 goals. As we know, at the time of 2015, SDGs was introduced, but ESD has started before that, from 2005. So at the time SDGs was decided and introduced at the school education, there are some confusions at schools about the relation between ESD and SDGs, since some teachers thought ESD and SDGs are different and they have lost their way to promote ESD activities. Now, new international initiatives, ESD for 2030, has launched, and we are also disseminating the information that ESD is getting more attention as the education for realizing the goals of SDGs. And it aims to foster people who can perceive global issues as their own issues and take actions actively to solve those problems. With the result of figure 4 shows that the the understanding of the relationship between ESD and SDGs at ASP.NET schools are increasing, and now it becomes 92%. So next slide, please. This slide shows the changes in teachers on curriculum development and teaching method through educational activities of ASP.NET schools. You can see the changes in teachers in the mindset of introducing sustainability values, curriculum management with cross-cutting efforts, put efforts to be aware of problems and find tasks, and become creative with teaching materials, data, and questions for the class. And the percentage of teachers have come to develop a curriculum that enables students to be aware of problems and find tasks, increasing 44% to 53%. And teachers have become creative with teaching materials, data, and questions for the class, increased from 45% to 48% from last year. On the other hand, changes related to interactions with other schools keeps low rate, and some are decreased. In fiscal year of 2020, is the COVID-19 pandemic hit the school education, and teachers put great efforts to provide education to their school and students. And it was a very difficult time to implement exchange programs. So those situations are reflecting, I think, to this figure numbers. Since Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology (MEX) is now strongly promoting to introduce ICT at schools, also due to the limit of traveling because of COVID-19, online meeting and exchange programs are rapidly increasing. And I hope those movements also promotes the interaction between ASP.NET schools nationally and internationally. And we started the consultation meeting to strengthen the networking activities. Next slide, please. This slide shows the changes in teachers' school management through educational activity in their school. This question focuses on the school management, while the previous slide questions focusing on the curriculum and teaching method. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, increase rate is small or some are decreased. We can see the efforts and changes towards the whole school approach within their schools, such as there is increased momentum among schools to work for ESD, or teachers have come to create a system that enables to the ongoing activities of UNESCO APCEIU schools. However, there are still some low rates for the outreaching to their parents. Next slide, please. This slide shows the changes can be seen with students through ESD activities. There are three key components for on ESD, and most effective changes can be seen at the motivation to learn and humanity. And the most changed perspectives for building sustainable society is interdependence. Next slide, please. This is the pictures comes from the Tadami Junior High School, which I introduced the first questions. The top left pictures shows that students are picking up the garbage at the beach, and then the right top is learning. Students are participating online meeting with the Ocean Summit. And the bottom pictures shows the students are teaching to making the paper bag to their communities. So those are the experience now we are taking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Horio. Always nice to see the real life and project-based learning activities happening. And of course, the Associated Schools Network is such a wonderful means to do that. Let us then move on and turn to the example of Jordan, which is a country which has been very actively integrating the concept of peace, sustainable development, and well-being in the country's education system. So my question to Ms. Jouhar is, what kind of reforms have been implemented and what has been their impact? And how can we see the learners' behavioral changes through these reforms coming forward? Over to you, Ms. Jouhar. Could you unmute your mic, please? We don't hear you.
Okay, if you can put my slides, please. Okay, next slide, please. Here in Jordan, next slides. In Jordan, we have a vision 2025. Next slide, please. Next, another one, another next. Okay. In Jordan, we have a Jordan vision, which focus about Jordan Vision 2025 has been prepared to chart a path for the future, define the general integrated framework that will govern economic and social policy based on providing opportunities for all. For this, it's necessary to raise the level of education and health and the level of infrastructures. Next slide, please. Then we have the 7th discussion paper of His Majesty King Abdullah Thani Ibn al-Hussein, which focus about building our human capabilities and developing the educational process is the sense of the nation's progress, which about focus about, next slide please, next slide, which focus about investigating the future of our children's development and keeping with modernization for the curricula, a strong Jordan that provides its children with the best education that qualifies them to face the challenge of life. Next slide, please. Okay, then we put the National Strategy for Human Resource Development 2017. Its vision is to develop talents and achieve well-being. For this, ensure that all children have high-quality early education and experiences, ensuring that all students in the elementary and secondary stages have access and qualified and efficient high-quality education. Next slide, please. No, the previous, please. The previous. Okay. And by 2025, ensure that there is a fair opportunity to enroll and obtain higher education at affordable cost and high quality. Achieving a significant increase in the number of young people and adults who possess technical skills. This is about the National Strategy for Human Resource. So about this, we bought National Strategy for Human Resource Development. The desired results. Next, please. Next slide. Yes, the desired results for this strategy is show attention to early education and childhood development, develop elementary and secondary education, raise the level of higher education, enhance vocational and technical education, and focus on training. Next slide, please. No, this slide. Then we put the general framework of curricula. Its vision was educational curricula that emulate learning, discovery, and creativity, enhance national and human identities. Its message, the general framework message, is developing curricula and enable learnings to capable and discovery and creativity, believing in diversity and the value of justice, dignity, and human rights. Next slide, please. For this, we make a capacity building. There is many awards to build capacity in Jordan. Most important of them is King Abdullah Awards for this mentioned government. Another one is Exemplary Employee Awards in Service Paris. Queen Rania Awards for Excellent Teachers. Next slide, please. Of all of this, we have raised, we have shown our participation in the TIMSS and PISA test. Next slide, please. This slide shows our participation of TIMSS by mathematics subject. We show a big jump since 2015. In 2019, we have a big jump. Another slide. Also at science subjects, we have a big jump in 2019 for the previous examination in 2015. Also, next slide, please. Also, at the PISA, about the PISA, which focusing about science, reading, and math, we have a big jump in science, reading, and math. In 2018, different of the previous period, which is 2015. Next slide, please. We have another initiative which called is reading and arithmetic, which call it in Jordan round. About round, it's for three stages. Earlier stage, first, second, third stage. If you which this round focus about sub skills in reading and arithmetic. If you see this table, you notice that we have positive scores in all skills and all sub skills. This is for math. I can't get the reading one. So thank you. I have finished my slides, and thank you.
So much. Thank you so much, Ms. Jouhar. So interesting to see how these reforms in the education system have also translated and have been, yes, translated into the better results in PISA. Let us then move over to Germany. And I would like Mr. Greiner to speak to us about the German experience, where Germany has been supporting a national ESD monitoring with the start of the Global Action Programme on Education for Sustainable Development. And it is a very interesting approach in relation to the country's ESD multi-stakeholder process and the ESD action programme, and developed from a descriptive towards a supportive monitoring approach, which means to actively support the actors in their ESD implementation efforts. So there is a study that has been based on the reflective monitoring in action approach, And what we would like to hear from you, Mr. Greiner, is how it started, who were involved, and why was this study conducted? Over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me start with the first question. How did it start and who is involved? I will first mention how the German process of ESD implementation is structured. At the federal level, not only our ministry, but the whole federal government stands behind education for sustainable development. The sustainability strategy of the federal government emphasizes that ESD should be anchored in all areas of education. The objectives are twofold. On one hand, the promotion of education in sustainability discourses. On the other, the promotion of sustainability in education. Consequently, the German federal government attaches considerable political importance to the national implementation of UNESCO's programs on ESD, the Global Action Program, and now to ESD for 2030 program. Already during the UN decade on ESD, 2004 to 2014, thousands of people in Germany have set up diverse, successful ESD projects. However, they were quite detached from the rest of the education community, which is highly complex in Germany with, you know, the 16 federal states being in charge of education. At the end of the decade, therefore, we all realized that ESD must be anchored more structurally in the education system. Therefore, we needed to develop ESD further from project to structure. Next slide, please. Next, yes. The Federal Ministry of Education and Research implemented, therefore, in 2015, at the beginning of UNESCO's Global Action Program on ESD, a multi-stakeholder process, as you can see on this slide. Next slide. Don't be afraid, it's not so cruel as it looks. The overarching goal of this process is the structural implementation and mainstreaming of ESD within all areas of education: early childhood, school education, vocational education and training, higher education, non-formal and informal learning, and learning in local authorities. In Germany, more than 300 actors from civil society, science, business, the federal states and local authorities work together intensively in 6 expert forums, partner networks, and a youth forum coordinated by the main steering body on ESD in Germany, the National Platform ESD. The National Platform, you can see it in the heart of the process, is chaired by the State Secretary of our Education Ministry and consists of 45 members at decision maker level. They all share the goal of implementing ESD along the chain of lifelong learning, and they all are adopted the National Action Plan for ESD with its 130 goals in 2017. Altogether, it is comprehensive and holistic, this approach, covering all educational institutions relevant for lifelong learning. It is accompanied by 2 consultants, an international and a scientific one. From the beginning, our ministry, BMBF, has been funding an independent national ESD monitoring. It delivers the evidence base for the scientific advisor of the national platform and all further ESD bodies you see on this slide. The advisor is attached to the Freie Universität Berlin. The monitoring has several aims. It should measure the structural implementation of ESD, capture trends, and recommend possible measures for implementing ESD. Thereby, it uses and supports the National Action Plan. Next slide, please. How is the monitoring project designed? The project follows a mixed method design, as you can see on this slide. The central goal is to capture the extent, quality, and development of ESD on different levels, documents, educational practices, public awareness, and in different educational areas. The project generates empirical results from different sub-studies with varying methods, document analysis of curricula and other central documents, you see it in yellow, expert interviews and focus groups decisions here in blue, as well as quantitative online studies with formal and non-formal education in red. All these studies are developed in dialogue with the actors of the multi-stakeholder process, following a transdisciplinary approach. So to sum up, involved are the scientific advisor, his team, and over 300 educational actors of the ESD process. Additionally, the collected experiences are used, here in green, described as scientific advice and knowledge mobilization. Over the years, the project has been adjusted towards a monitoring approach that is more reflexive and supportive. You said it. The new monitoring approach explicitly aims the strengthening the capacity of the actors with the ESD process. Therefore, the reflexive monitoring in action is at the core of a new monitoring orientation. Next slide, please. What is RMA? Reflexive monitoring in action. For implementing the RMA, our monitoring team organizes virtual work groups with our different expert forums in order to encourage their reflections and dialogues to support the ESD implementation. Thereby, they focus on questions like the readjustment of their working goals, the identification of missing key actors, or the identification of systematic drivers or barriers for an effective ESD implementation. Different interactive methods have been used in the workshops, such as actor analysis or backcastings. The workshops are very positively received by the members of the ESD bodies and are currently leading to initial results, such as the establishment of new thematic working groups. The process to bring ESD from project to structure is, to be frank, full of conflicts of interest and can therefore be frustrating at times. However, with the RMA approach, the monitoring team strives for enhancing the ownership of all actors involved and aims to foster their identification with a national action plan on ESD. In such a multi-professional governance environment, actors from civil society and educational practice are equally important as actors from the administration. This is why the research focuses on interactive practices between all these actors in order to better understand how they cooperate within the governance of ESD and how to shape the transformation towards more ESD. The monitoring in Germany has been following this new path of a transformative, reflexive, and supportive nature for 2 years now. The results enable us to learn more about the diffusion processes of ESD in the different educational areas in Germany. This is really useful for us as well as for the members of the different bodies, because the path towards a transformative transformation of the educational system is only successful if it is a joint path. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Greiner. So interesting to learn about your experience. It is as you say, a comprehensive and holistic approach. And what was also interesting to hear is about, of course, the complexity and the challenges that come with such an approach. We will have time to actually go back and look deeper into monitoring. But before we do so, I would actually want to turn now to the audience and invite the audience to put forward their ideas, 2 words, on what they see as being important for the education system to change in order for the transformative education to happen. We also have a couple of questions that have come into for the speakers, and we will take that after this question. But let me perhaps hand over to June so that she can explain to you how actually you will be able to feed in your ideas and thoughts, or actually 2 words in response to this question. June, over to you.
Thank you very much, Krista. Can you hear me? Yes, great. So this exercise is more for the audience, but of course the guest speakers, if you're interested in, please join. Please visit slido.com, which is an application available online. If you have a device, please type slido.com. And the survey code is 472599. Either you can also use the QR code, which is on the left side on the top. Thank you. Let's take a couple of minutes. Thank you. We have started to have some responses. Okay, maybe we can wait up to 100. Yeah.
1 more minute.
Okay.
And then we can perhaps keep the slide on the screen. I think it's best that we just have a look at the diversity of ideas actually coming forward, which also shows the complexity of the term, and also we will. I see that the 2 questions that have been put forward to the speakers also touch upon the changes that would be required in the education sector. So, June, would you read out the first question? And then we can invite the speakers to actually comment on the question. And also perhaps what you will see, the words that you will see emerging on the screen.
Krista, which question is about?
The questions that were put forward by the audience.
Oh, yes, that is something we can discuss together. But would you like me to present the questions? Sorry.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All
Read
right.
them out so that the speakers then can comment on the questions.
Yes, sure. So the first question, before changing students' mindset, indeed, we have this mindset in the middle just right now on the slide. Should we change teachers first? What are the most effective ways to do that? Do we need teacher training or should start with pre-service teacher? That was the first question. And would you like me to read out also the other interesting question coming up?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Go ahead.
How can we change students' mindset if the design of university, so this one is really looking at the higher education, if the design of university is based on silo structure, promotion of educators is based mainly on research, not on their contribution to transformative education. Over to you.
Thank you so much, June. So the questions are about, when we speak about the change that is needed in the mindset of students, then where should we start? Do we start with teachers? And then if so, how should this be done in a most effective manner? Either already by in-service or pre-service teacher training. And then the other is about the design of university being based on a silo approach. Then how can we promote the educators' education in a transformative manner? So who would want to come first? Can I perhaps start with Mr. Greiner, who was the last speaker, and then we move our way backwards. Over to you, Mr. Greiner.
Thank you. If we're talking about school education, I think teachers' competencies are the first thing. As you know, in Germany, teachers' education is based in the 16 states. So we have not only one type of educating teachers in Germany, so nearly 16. And that's really challenging. I would agree with you, teachers' competencies are very, very
It's a challenge, I think, mostly for the fact, because of the fact that Germany is a federal government, right? So you have delegated the authority for the curriculum and possibly teacher training also to the regional level, right? Is this where the main challenge comes from?
It's not only delegated, it's by law, by our constitution.
But you do agree that we should start with teachers, and is it with teachers
That's our
already
opinion, yes.
At the pre-service level before they actually, I mean, at the university level?
At the university level is a little bit more complex. You see, both university teachers and the students are essential for this progress of implementing ESD in a holistic approach on universities, yes.
And do you also have a comment on the fact that already, so how can we change the mindset into being more transformative and cognizant of the interconnectedness that exists in this world, if already the university, the way we provide education at the university level is a very siloed approach? How can we then make this change in the mindset happen?
You're right. That's a very siloed approach, and universities. In our national action plan, we have the aim to break a little bit these silos and come to an approach not only on universities, but on every other part of the educational system to be more holistic, yeah, and diversing.
It's also significant, as you know, because of the fact that now we say that the whole 2030 agenda is sort of recognizes the interconnectedness of the challenges that we face in today's world. So it's true that we need to somehow transmit this also in the way the education system is constructed, and we actually educate our youth. Ms. Jouhar, what are your reflections on these questions? Over to you.
Okay, it's a very difficult thing to change the minds of the teacher. We must to emphasize critical thinking and have the student change mind. We must focus about change mind the teachers. Here in Jordan, we have a Queen Rania Academy that train teacher well in many programs. And we have in the Ministry of Education, we have multi-programs to train the teacher. It's not easy to change the mind of them, but Queen Rania Academy make Queen Rania Academy award for excellent teacher, motivates teachers and spreading a culture of excellence by underscoring success stories and to make it for the general teacher. Okay, I finished.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I see that in Jordan, you really try to motivate and encourage change through different awards, right?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Horio, over to you.
Yes, so I think there is always something that every stage, not only the university, but also the teacher, is also there is something they can do at their positions or their roles. For example, the teachers can find the the connectivity with the global issues and their local issues or their local lives. So the teachers can find those connectivities and teaching to their students, and then the students can realize them, the connections between the global challenges and their actions, their lives, and then they have changed their mindset, and then they change their actions. And at the university levels in Japan, we are also having that Teacher Education Institute providing a teacher training with and also the organizing the workshop with to sharing the good practices, so the teachers can get the image to the next actions or the how to bring implement the or develop their curriculum. So for my question, answer is there is always something to do with their positions.
But we need to always put teachers first.
Yes, but the teachers always have important roles in the education systems.
And how about the siloed approach at the university level? Do you how can you sort of respond to that question?
In my presentation at the first slide, we established the university network to support ASP.NET schools. So those universities are providing workshops to the local ASP.NET schools, as well as teacher training programs. So the schools in the ASP.NET school, teachers in ASP.NET schools have an opportunity to develop their curriculums, or how to promote to change the mindset of students. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Horio. I believe it's time for us to move then to the third question that I would like to put to our panelists. I believe that our speaker from Botswana, unfortunately, was not able to join us. So let us move on. And the last question, as I said, is about monitoring. And my question to you, dear speakers, is the following. What are the most important factors that you think are necessary to be retained to monitor the progress in your country? Or what aspects you see as being crucial for the success of the ongoing process? Let me start again with Mr. Greiner. Over to you.
Thank you very much. To make it very short, the recipe for success for us is an indicator-based monitoring, which uses not only quantitative indicators, but also takes the qualitative dimension into consideration, and even more crucial, a transdisciplinary approach to support the joint path for ESD. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me then move on to Ms. Jouhar.
Okay, it's how to keep on development and modernization, focusing on teacher training, put good and fixed quality control standards. That's it.
Thank you very much. Very succinct answers. Ms. Horio, over to you.
I think I also repeat my previous comment that the importance we through the those annual surveys we can see the progress of the at school level, and also the challenges the schools are facing, and then the point of the that point we need our national commission need to strengthen. So those surveys need to, one of the good tools to monitoring. And then for the crucial issues to promote ESD is as I said, there is always something people can act to build sustainable society. The point is how people recognize the connection between global issues or risk to sustainable society and their lives. And the education to promote those recognition to realize the connection and bring change mindset and find the way to solution and action can be taken is important. And accordingly, the people can act to make the sustainable society. That is a very crucial point for the ESD. And to do that, we continued our effort to implement ESD at school level and promote whole school approach, which is important to implement cross-cutting approach as well as sustainable activities. Also, not only at schools, because the sustainable global challenge is very complicated and it's impossible to solve only at school levels. So cooperation between many stakeholders, including local communities, universities, private sectors, are also important, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This also resonates with what Mr. Greiner said earlier about this multi-stakeholder approach. Is in Japan, I mean, is the Japanese approach to promoting transformative education also similar to what Mr. Greiner was describing as happening in Germany? And do you also have a whole system of advisors and coordination in place, Ms. Horio?
Yes, not exactly same, but also we also developed and established the national action plan for ESD with related ministries, including the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and Ministry of Law and Justice, and Ministry. So several ministries are incorporated, and then we have close cooperation between the private sectors and also the UNESCO clubs in the communities, and also the Board of Education in our local communities. So we are trying to establish the multi-stakeholder approaches as well.
Can I also ask a little bit about the sort of the ways how you actually promote the concept of sustainable development at the country level? From Central Asia, UNESCO Almaty office has been very active in supporting education for sustainable development, and what we have done is actually based on UNESCO's global tools and publications. We have developed a series of trainings that we roll out, but we also have found, especially during the COVID outbreak and when we saw the school closures and the move of the education and learning actually to online and distance learning, we felt that it was very important also for us to support the countries in the development of interactive learning modules. And we have a project supported by the Estonian government in Kyrgyzstan, that allowed us to develop interactive learning modules on different aspects related to education for sustainable development, also global citizenship education. And we thought that this was a very good way also to provide teachers with very concrete tools that they were able to use at the time of lockdowns. Do the speakers, the panelists, also have similar experience from your countries, that you also support teachers and the schools by providing them with concrete tools and content? Ms. Jouhar, may I come to you first? Could you please unmute your mic so we hear you?
Oh, are you hear me now? Are you hear me? Okay. It's in COVID-19, we have many challenges in the University of Education. How to learn the children in their houses. especially if we in Jordan, we have some towns. There is no technique, no good techniques, and they have no internet. They have no computers labbing. So the Ministry of Education try to teach everyone in his house. We make we make videos for the all of the subject for all of the stages, from the first stage up to 12th stage. The Ministry of Education open channels, specific channels for the students to follow their subjects and all of the subjects in it. Also, we have a specific and specific training for teacher how to teach without saying their children's. After this, in this year, we will back to we back to the our schools. We make a specific subjects or specific lessons for the to enrich the students by the skills and the outcomes that they can't catch them in the previous year.
Thank you, Ms. Jouhar. May I turn now to Ms. Horio and Japan's experience on during the COVID pandemic as regards the promotion of ESD. Okay,
thank you. With the COVID-19, I think it's the same situation that in Japan also the people are limited the traveling. But so at the beginning, all the activities are stopped, but the universities are support the SPNet schools to providing online workshop or online meetings and online training course. So through those training course online tools, the schools teachers can participate or receiving those training courses. And for the concrete programs, for example, this year the UN Ocean Decade of Ocean Science has launched this year, and then so Tokyo University Center for Ocean Literacy and Educations are providing the workshop to those schools by online. So those schools are located in the ocean area, coastal area. They can participate to the online workshop and receiving the training course and sharing their experience for the ocean education, and then they bring to their school curriculums. And as for the World Cultural Heritage, Nara University of Education located in Nara, which is also the World Heritage Site. They are implementing World Heritage curriculum, education and so they are also providing the developing a textbook and also the training course. So the areas who has a World Heritage or cultural heritage, they can participate those programs as well. So those programs and Shinshu Universities, which is located in biosphere reserves in Japan, they are also providing a workshop to the schools to how using those informations of biosphere reserves. And then, so we are trying to encourage to connect with those UNESCO programs to bringing to the school education. Can I answer your questions?
Yes, thank you so much. So in a way, the pandemic has also taught us how to work more online and actually have sometimes also a better outreach. Mr. Greiner, over to you.
Thank you. I must repeat what I said earlier. In Germany, the school education is under the authority of the 16 German states. And COVID-19 was very, very challenging, especially for these 16 states, more than for us at the federal level. We accompany and support the states with material, for example, on our ESD portal in internet, which is very large and supportive. And to be frank, COVID-19 was the greatest challenge, of course, was in the non-formal sector. Non-formal education suffered a lot finding new programs under COVID-19. And we launched now a working group under the federal level about ESD and digitalization on our federal level. And for us, the competencies of ESD are the competences needed in times of challenge, of resilience. And so ESD is a way to get over these challenges, even under COVID-19.
Absolutely, Mr. Greiner. Yes, this has also been UNESCO's main message, that we need to learn from this the shock by building back better, by finding ways to build stronger education systems, more resilient education systems, and also more dynamic education systems, so that we can move from online to offline modes of learning and education in a more seamless manner. Let us then conclude our discussion today here. I think that the three panelists have given us a wealth of knowledge and experience from very different diverse countries like Germany, Japan, and Jordan. It is a pity that our speaker from Botswana could not join us because of the technical challenges. But again, this is one of the ways how we have to be more dynamic and adaptive to the system and learn to function differently. So thank you so much for your participation. Thank you also for the audience for your engagement. We will actually have a report of the whole forum, of course, but also of individual sessions prepared. So your ideas and comments will also be reflected in that. And with that, let me thank all the speakers, all the participants, and wish you good health and strength and courage in promoting education for sustainable development and transformative education. Thank you. Over.
Thank you.